Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Midlife and Beyond Reinvention channel. And today I'm Karen Putz, and today I have with me someone special that I met through a company that we shared send-out cards. And Edie Iles is with us today. And Edie and we met through send-out cards. We both were, creating our teams of send-out cards. And I flew down to Florida and met with her for lunch. And we just hit it off right then and there. And Edie was telling me, she had just gone through some changes in her life. And she's going to tell us about that. And she's going to tell us about her reinvention and how that happened. So after our lunch, we met again in Florida at another send-out cards meeting. And that meeting was very pivotal in your life. So tell me about that meeting. What happened that made you have this amazing transformation, and what was that transformation?
Well, let me back up a little bit because there is a backstory. I had recently been divorced when I first met you, and had gone through. It was not an easy thing. Divorce is never easy, and I was really stuck in a bad place. I'm a happy person, so I don't acknowledge that to myself. I always want to put on, that everything is fine and I'm great, but I was really in a bad place. I felt like I was in my 50s and my whole life had just been completely destroyed. Everything that I'd gone through is just, it put me in a really bad spot. And that lunch that we had, our first lunch, was very eye-opening for me because I saw you as someone who took on challenges and pushed through them, and it was just, you were so inspiring to me at that lunch. And then when we met again, you had finished your book. You had told me that you had a book that you were working on, and you had finished your book, and you gave me a copy of your book. And I was so excited to read it, and I went home, and I started reading the book. And I think we talked about dancing. That was the one thing in my life that I had really missed. When I married my husband, before I married my husband, I was a dancer, and I danced probably about 4 or 5 nights a week. And he promised me that he was going to learn to dance and that we would, dance together, and he never did. It was not in his heart to do that. And so I completely quit dancing. But when I started reading your book and I saw the obstacles and your passion and the things that you had overcome, you had taken your passion and pushed it to the back burner to raise your family and to take care of your family and things. And I don't know, there was something that just told me that I needed to take some action. And that's what I did. I was very nervous. I was in my 50s. I was in a place where I didn't know very many people. I had moved out of town to a new place, and I didn't know very many people. I didn't know any dancers. And I was just really nervous about getting out there. But fate would have it. um, I had a LinkedIn account, but had hardly ever gone on to LinkedIn. And for some reason, it was a God thing, I'm sure, but for some reason I went on to LinkedIn one day and I saw a message from a guy that had the same last name as somebody that I used to dance with years and years earlier. And he had sent me a request to connect on LinkedIn. And so I checked him out, and he didn't live in the same city, and he was retired, so he didn't have any place of employment. So I really had nothing to connect him with. That was the same guy. He lived out of state, in a different state. So I just sent him a message and I said, "Are you the Bill Watson that used to live in Jacksonville and danced?" And he said, "I am that guy." And so we had a little bit of a conversation, through LinkedIn. And I told him, I said, "Well, I didn't know what his situation was. I didn't know whether he was married or, what his situation was. So I said, if you're ever in Jacksonville, let's hook up and reconnect and catch up with what's been going on in each other's lives." And he said, "Okay." So I didn't hear anything from him for probably about 2 or 3 weeks. And then he sent me a message and he says, "I'm going to be in Jacksonville." And so he and I connected and we went to dance at the same place that we used to dance. And but he lived out of state. He lived in Georgia. So it wasn't like he was going to be here a lot. So, but I took advantage of that situation and I met a couple of people at the dance place, and one of the ladies that I met invited me to go to another dance, and then I met some ladies there, and it just kind of evolved. It just really, but I hadn't danced in many, many years. And so, getting back on the dance floor and trying to remember, the steps and everything, I was awkward and I was uncomfortable, but I just kept pushing through it because I knew that it was something that I really wanted to do. Um, Dance was always a passion of mine,
Mhm.
and and I had pushed it to the back burner just like you did when you were raising your children. I pushed it to the back burner, and it wasn't. It was still there. It was still in my heart. It was still in my soul. And as a matter of fact, I used to, when I was in a bad place, and I'd go to bed at night and I felt lonely, and in my head I would waltz. I would waltz to music in my head to put myself to sleep. I didn't count sheep, I waltzed. So it was in my heart, it was in my soul, to dance. And and it was just, and I wrote you and told you, that I had met this guy, and I said it just, everything just seemed to be, falling into place after I read your book. And it was just, it transformed my life. I mean, it truly, truly transformed my life. I dance probably about 3 or 4 nights a week. I met a great guy. He's a DJ, and we travel and we dance all over the southeast, and we go on lots of trips together, and we just have a blast. And it was all because I took that step after reading your book, being inspired. I took that step and
Took
just
the
pushed
action.
through. I just pushed through my fear and anxiety over not knowing. Um, and there was one guy that I danced with on a Sunday afternoon. We went up to Fernandina Beach to dance on Sunday afternoon, and there was one guy that was a really good dancer, and I was scared to death to dance with him.
Why was
Because
that?
he was just so good and I didn't know what to do. And I just remember every time he would come over and ask me, it was like, "Oh God, please don't let me make a mistake." I didn't want to, I just didn't want to mess up. And I was so intimidated. And over time, I remember going to Fernandina to a dance there one Sunday afternoon, and he asked me to dance, and I got up and danced with him. And it was just, I had an epiphany. I'm not afraid to dance with him anymore. I enjoy dancing with him. And so now he's one of my favorite dancers that I love to dance with because he's so good and I can just follow him. And when I'm out on the dance floor, I feel like I'm dancing on a cloud is what I feel like. I'm just dancing on a cloud. So
I
I,
love your story. I
I
love
do
your story
too.
because you show what it is, what's possible when you, number one, identify what's very meaningful to you. And number two, when you push aside any expectation. And number three, you just go for the experience despite that fear, despite that anxiety that was in front of you. You knew what brought you joy. You knew
Right.
what you were passionate about. And you made up a decision in your mind that, okay, yes, I'm in midlife, but I am going to enjoy that one thing that I enjoyed so much years ago. And it has brought you obviously so much joy, so much passion, and I'm sure you look forward to it every time you
Oh,
go.
yes, absolutely. And another thing that
Mhm.
has brought me too is friendships. We have a dance club, and the friendships that I have, I, all of my life, I've always felt like I was an outsider.
How so?
Every group that I've ever been into, I just feel like that I was not included for some reason. And it probably was in my head. But with this dance group, I feel like that I'm included, that it's, they're friends, and it's friends that I know that I'll have for the rest of my life. We get together, we're getting together tonight for dinner. There's a bunch of us that are getting together tonight for dinner. When we travel to other cities, there's a group of us that go out, and we travel together. And so it's not only the passion of dance, but it's also the connections with the friends, that really has just opened up my life. And I'm 71 years old. Most of my friends, most of my friends that I dance with are in their 70s. Some are in their 80s. And we all are just young at heart. None of us look at each other as being old. I mean, we have so much fun, and it's all because of the passion that's in our soul. So thank you for opening that up for me.
This warms my heart. Let me ask you, what advice would you give to someone who was where you were a few years ago? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think because I do have a couple of, I've met a couple of ladies that want to dance, and they're afraid to get out there. And I have talked to them, and it's like, I'm I'm here with you. I'm your friend, and I'll take you, and I'll help you. And one of the things too is our 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 club is such a warm and friendly club. We dance with each other as boyfriends or each other as husbands. There's nobody's trying to pick up anybody. So I always tell them, I'm here with you. So and that was very helpful for me, is to have this friend, this guy friend that I had, that take me out the first time. But then when I met a gal named Kathy, and Kathy is the one that drug me out to other places. So it's always nice to have, somebody that you can walk with, on whatever your journey is. But it's really just knowing what your passion is, and just making that determination that no matter what, I'm going to push through the fear. I'm going to push through the, whatever is blocking me from doing that. I'm going to just push through it. And I know that what's on the other side of that fear is going to be joy. So you just got to push through it and take that action,
Yes.
and do it.
Um,
And you're never, ever, ever too old to learn something new.
Love it. I love it. Now, that word passion, what does it mean to you, and how do you define it?
Passion is, I think everybody has different passions, many passions. I have more than one passion, but for me, the dance, which is my greatest joy, my passion, my biggest passion. I think passion is what's in your heart and soul, and it's something, it feels like it's just something that you have to burst out and do. It's just, it drives you. It's like a fire that you have to go after it. You just have to do it. And it could be a number of things, but it's just, you already know what your passion is. Sometimes it's buried, you have to dig to find it, to find what it is. Because I really, when I was in that bad marriage, I really I had buried my passion deep, and I just, dancing doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's just, I just buried it. But once I dug deep and found out what my passion was, again, relived my passion, it had to come out. It just had to come out.
That is absolutely beautiful. Your story reminds me of something that my mentor, Kevin Hall, told me. When I first started writing the book, the Unwrapping Your Passion book, I said to Kevin, I reached out to him and I said, Kevin, I want to write this book about passion, but I don't know very many people who are really living with passion. And Kevin said to me, Karen, and it's a Joseph Campbell quote. He goes, follow your bliss. People will show up and open doors where there were none before. And time again, that has proven to be true. When someone identifies something that's meaningful to them with passion, they start hanging out with people who have that same passion, and that energy just grows and grows and grows. And you are a beautiful example of that. Yes. So I hope you have many, many, many more years of dancing ahead of you.
Yeah,
Anything else you would like to share for somebody who's doing their own midlife reinvention?
um, just listen to your heart. Just listen to your heart, and your soul will tell you what your passion is and tell you what to do. And I think that I probably would have eventually gotten to dance, but reading your book and seeing what you had, what you had gone through and how you rediscovered your passion, it really started the motion, started things in motion for me. And I think that it was, I think that reading your book and then me getting in touch with my friend Bill, I don't know that if he had gotten in touch with me first, that I would have ever responded. So it was just, I think that reading your book was really what ignited, me rediscovering my passion. And I just, I am eternally grateful for you and your book and the way things have turned out, because when you're living your passion, no matter how old you are, I mean, I'm 70 years old. So when you're living your passion, you always feel and look younger than your age, because you're happy, you're joyful, and you have a purpose in life. And, so you got to find that
People
passion.
feel that energy. They
People
see
do.
that
People
energy.
feel
That's
that.
the highest level of passion, that recognition level.
That's right.
And you have reached that high level without a doubt. Yes. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Edie. I love it. And I
Thank
know
you for
you
inviting
are going to
me.
turn around and ripple and inspire others.
I hope so. I really do, because it's fun.
It's
It's
so
fun living your
fun.
passion.
Thank
And
you for being with us.
thank you very much.